When large jobs require moving massive amounts of snow, get the work done quickly and efficiently with the Western Pile Driver and all-new Pile Driver XL pusher plows, both featuring Trace Edge technology. These pushers scrape down to the pavement with an advanced cutting-edge system that has independent 2-foot sections that move vertically, oscillate, and trip. Get more jobs done faster with the Western Pile Driver lineup of pusher plows.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I have with me this morning special guest, Clay Martin, founder of Isla Talent. Okay,
Hey,
did I get it right?
You got it right. You got it right. Thanks for having me on.
I'm glad to be here. I love it. Ease the pain. I love that's what you told me earlier. Ease the pain. That's what it's all about.
You basically speak Spanish. You said a word in Spanish. Isla means island in Spanish. So
Really? That's what it means, huh?
Yep.
I like that. That's cool. So
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, I mean, there's a ton of recruiters out there. There's a ton of guys out there, but I think that what really interested me is that you were the first guy that I've ever met that's doing recruiting from Puerto Rico. You bring 2 decades of experience working with Spanish-speaking communities. You've been specializing in recruiting from Puerto Rico for 10 years. Other than what it seems to be is just one of the most beautiful places in the world to live, how did you get into this?
Yeah, great question. First off, Dave, I want to say thanks for taking my LinkedIn message. I heard the podcast with my friend Kelly Dow. I also kind of say colleague because she really helped make my business what it is, and I'll kind of get to that. But I do a lot of LinkedIn work, and I shot you a message. You responded, and I just want to say I appreciate that because for someone like yourself that does a lot of different things and puts yourself out there kind of as like I don't know if you want to use the word influencer, but you have a lot of connections, and it's just cool that you responded. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad you reached out, man. I mean, we're on this entrepreneurial journey together, and you know what? Some days we're on the mountain, and some days we're at the bottom of the ocean. It just depends on what happened. And I always hope that the sharks aren't circling when I'm at the bottom. So, it's awesome that we could connect. Kelly is amazing. She does an amazing job. So, I love that. I love that you're here.
Cool. Thank you. So how did I get started? As my grandma says, it's only a day in a lifetime. So, I kind of fell in love with Spanish at an early age. I'm from Kentucky. I'm obviously a white dude from Kentucky, but I started learning Spanish in high school when I was, a freshman. So I was like 13, 14 years old. And I kind of continued that through college and studied abroad, went to Mexico, all that good stuff. And right out of college, I wanted to do the Peace Corps. And so I spent pretty much a year after college, I went to Ecuador, and I served 2 years in the Peace Corps in Ecuador, living with a tribe that still was doing at the time like kind of body painting and had these vibrant skirts, and they're shamans and have ceremonies, and it was pretty wild. Going from I basically went from being like a lax bro in college to a year later having a machete in the jungle. So.
That's pretty cool. So for those who might not know, what is the Peace Corps?
Sure. So the Peace Corps is a government organization, and they accept volunteers of all different ages. One requirement is you have to be a college graduate, and so they send volunteers to different countries to basically kind of live like a local and also kind of collaborate with the community and try to help them grow in whatever type of projects that they are doing at that time. So I had some landscape experience, and I got trained in agriculture. So my main project was agriculture, to kind of help the community with organic farming and things like that. These are things that they wanted. It wasn't like I came in and said, you have to do this. It was like they asked for me to come. And I think at the time, this was in 2008, but I was making like $9 a day. That's as a volunteer. I lived off of $9 a day, and that's what I did for 2 years. And I eventually helped this tribe kind of do some community tourism. They wanted to do tourism, and so I helped organize, a bunch of families to do community tourism.
Wow, that's kind of cool. So you got this bug kind of sunk in your heart. It started really from an early age with the love of language and the love of speaking Spanish, and you go through this process. You do the Peace Corps, and now you decide what next step. How do you get into recruiting? How does that happen?
Yeah, so I've always been. I feel like how did I get into recruiting? I mean, one thing I thought, where did this start? And I've always been a connector. That's what recruiting is. You're connecting people and, looking for jobs, and you're connecting them with businesses that need employees. And so I've always had this kind of skill set of just connecting different people. I mean, one example, I lived with like a shaman in Ecuador who had never, no one in his village had ever been on a plane. No one in his village had ever been out of the country. And this guy grew up literally like naked in the rainforest, and then kind of got civilized, and he still has like body paint and paints his hair red. And I sponsored his trip to America. I brought his name's Alejandro. I brought him to America. That's a whole other story, but just, I love sharing that because those are the things I'm passionate about. That's the connecting, right? The connecting. So, after the Peace Corps, I did Peace Corps twice. I was in Ecuador and Panama, so I was 4 years in the Peace Corps. In my late 20s, the first job I got was working for dairy farms in upstate New York. So I would, I basically was like a bilingual HR person, traveling to different farms all over upstate New York. And I basically helped recruit and translate for these farms. And so a lot of the farms had people from mainly Mexico, green card holders. But because of some of the farms were having issues with some of the workers' documentation, the company that I was working for at the time said, let's recruit people from Puerto Rico. And so that's what I started doing. I went down to Puerto Rico, and I started recruiting dairy farm workers from Puerto Rico.
Wow, that's awesome. So that's how you get into it. It opens the doors, and then you start Martin Recruiting and Consulting.
Yep. So fast forward, maybe 2 years later, I had tried a stint at the corporate recruiting world. I lasted like 6 months. I mean, I got fired. They fired me. They're like, you are not a good fit. I'm like, thank God, So I tried tucking in my shirt for 6 months, and wearing a collared shirt did not go well. And I was sitting there, Dave. It was like 3 months, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you remember stories like this in your path of being an entrepreneur, but there's certain points of your career or your life that you really remember that exact moment. And I remember the exact moment. And I was at a Bengals football game, and one of my friends looks at me and he says, Clay, you've been unemployed for 3 months. You just you were living in your parents' basement. You're almost 30 years old. What are you going to do with your life? And I sat there and I said, you know what? I've been thinking about starting a recruiting firm from Puerto Rico to recruit Puerto Ricans because they're U.S. citizens for the landscape industry. Because I know you've worked in the landscape industry, snow and ice, the H-2B program. And so I said this to my friend. He's like, if that's what you want to do, you should do it. And so I was like, I went home. I was like, maybe 2 beers deep and kind of was feeling good. And so I literally went home that night, Dave, and I just started researching the H-2B program and researching labor shortages. And I started reaching out, and literally overnight, I started an LLC. I was like, I know there's a need. and I know I have a unique skill set to fix that need. So I started reaching out to landscape owners. I reached out to Kelly because I knew she was in the industry at the time, and just kind of started networking and also building my talent pool in Puerto Rico at the same time.
Well, that's awesome. So basically you're connecting with guys over there, you're working with companies in the US, and then they're saying, "Hey, I need 10 guys, 15 guys, 5 guys or whatever it is." And then you're putting a program together, you're sourcing them. Do they come over, or do they stay for a season? Do they go back? How does all
Sure.
that work?
Yeah. So my current company is Isla Talent. We recruit for the landscape industry, factories, hospitality, and also nurses. We recruit nurses from Puerto Rico. And so it can go a lot of different ways. And I'm always here to help consult for companies that want to know how to do this. But basically, most of it is seasonal, Dave. So most of my clients are clients, like landscape companies that need, temporary labor, seasonal labor. So that's where this really works. So some of my recruits come in for 7 to 9 months, but some of them want to move here and do move here permanently because they can. I mean, there's no red tape. My tagline is no visas needed, no red tape.
No visas, no red tape. I love it. That makes it simple and it cuts right through it. So how easy is it to source guys from Puerto Rico?
Sure. Well, it's honestly harder than you would think. I mean, there is no red tape, but the biggest thing I've learned is gaining the trust of the people. I mean, I remember when I first tried to recruit from Puerto Rico, 10 years ago, whatever, I would call these guys and they would just like hang up on me immediately, and then I started because I was pretty cocky back then. I'm like, oh, I know how to speak Spanish. I've lived in all these countries. Well, Spanish from Puerto Rico is completely different than Ecuador, Mexico, Panama. So I had to learn like the slang and then the accent and all these crazy things with the language. But it's, the hardest part for me is having that credibility and confidence so the workers really know that they can trust you, because there are a lot of companies out there that try to recruit from Puerto Rico, but they don't understand, I think, that there's a human aspect here. There's a very important human aspect. Even though they are US citizens, but you're basically helping relocate someone from overseas to a faraway place. And so, the hardest part for me has just been to build my network. And at this point, I don't really even have to go out and recruit. I mean, everyone comes to me, everyone calls me and they're like, "Hey, I got your number from so-and-so," or, "Hey, you recruited me 6 years ago," or, "Hey, I heard about you on Facebook." I mean, my number is just out there, and I get phone calls all the time. So it's cool. It's fun. My friends kind of get annoyed. My girlfriend gets annoyed because I'm always speaking Spanish on my phone, like at any moment, but yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, my parents, I remember when I used to live in Cincinnati when I started my business. Now I live in Denver, but I remember it'd be like a Sunday and I'd go to church with my parents and I'm like sitting there, my parents live in a church where they have like a rock band. They go to, and it's like drinking coffee. So I'm like sitting there, like texting workers, and my mom's like, "You better not be on your phone." I'm like, "I'm helping people, like God wants me to help them, right?"
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're putting it together. They're calling you now. So like, what's the ideal customer? If somebody calls you and they say, "Hey, I want 2 guys," is that too small? Is it, I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, I typically prefer at least 4 workers. I would not say that 4 is my minimum, but I prefer to say that it is. And the reason is because, if a company wants just 2 people, I'm probably not gonna recruit 2 strangers to go somewhere they've never been before. And I require the companies that I work with to provide housing. They have to provide housing for these workers at a reasonable cost. And so I'm not going to put 2 strangers that live together. I'm going to put 2 people that know each other. And, if one leaves, then maybe the other leaves. And, so there's kind of a social aspect here. So I think 4 is kind of the perfect number to start with, at least 4. The you said what's an ideal client. I mean, I just want to work with companies that I feel like are going to treat people well and are going to have patience and flexibility and understand that this isn't going to be perfect from the start. You're dealing with a different culture, you're dealing with a different language. And so I want to work with companies that not just treat people well, but that understand this is going to take time to really understand and get used to.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I love it. So you bring in, minimum of 4 people at a time. Do some people pick 15, 20 people? I mean, are some people
Yeah,
grabbing guys like that?
absolutely. I mean, um, I just placed 45 workers for a company that builds golf courses. And they were like shocked that I was able to do that. So I mean, I have the ability to recruit a large amount of people and very fast. And so I think that's why companies are honestly pretty surprised when I tell them how fast I can do this, but there's also a quality to it and a confidence that I know I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, that's cool. So is the business today, is it just you, or do you have a team that supports you?
Sure. It's mostly me. Just like everyone's entrepreneurial journey, Dave. I mean, when I started off, I'll just to kind of tell you how it went. When I started, I I literally bought a one-way ticket and went to Puerto Rico. I actually did a podcast, I think, with Lawn and Landscape magazine. And when that podcast was going to go out, like the whole idea of recruiting from Puerto Rico, not a lot of people knew about it. It was before Hurricane Maria, so not a lot of people knew that Puerto Rico was a U.S. territory. And so I was doing this podcast and I said, this podcast is going to put me on the map. I said, I know it's almost like, it was kind of like I felt like I was in a movie, to be honest. That sounds kind of cocky or lame, but like, it's almost like
No,
a
it's
guy.
cool.
It's almost like someone in the music industry that has like a one-hit wonder and they're like, this is going to take me to the top. And, I remember I was like, this podcast is going to put me on the map. I don't have to do cold calls all day and LinkedIn people hoping people are going to come to me. This podcast is going to bring all kinds of business to me. So I bought a one-way ticket to Puerto Rico and I started doing job fairs there. I started, renting out hotels, and I started making partnerships, and I found a guy to help me do recruiting. And I was like, this is going to take off. By the week 2, I had all these companies calling me. So I called my best friend from Peace Corps, name's Ryan. And I said, hey man, my business is taking off. I need you here to help me. I don't know how much I can pay you because I literally just got fired 3 months ago and I was living in my parents' basement and I have like no money, but I said, I feel like I'm going to be able to pay you well if you come out here and help me. And my buddy came out on a one-way flight too. I rented us an Airbnb in the middle of the island, like in the middle of nowhere, because it's all I could afford. And we were just like driving around Puerto Rico in a purple Jeep going everywhere. And I was taking phone calls and giving him my phone. We're speaking Spanish to the Puerto Ricans. He's talking to clients and we're eating, on the side of the road. And it was just like one of those moments where it was just a favorite part of my journey.
That's an amazing scene. I love that. I mean, you
Yeah,
articulated that. That's awesome,
yeah,
man. I love it.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, I still remember the songs that we were listening to, like in the Jeep with the top down, just like high-fiving because we were so stoked. So I remember at the end of that trip, Dave, like my buddy he was in grad school or getting his PhD, and he didn't have a lot of resources at the time. And so at the end of the trip, I calculated how much money I knew I was going to make from the deals that he kind of helped me close on that trip. And I had a checkbook at the time. I don't think I've written a check in 7 years, but I had a checkbook at the time and I wrote him a check for 10 grand. And I went to the store and bought him a brand new Mac computer and I gave it to him. And he was like, are you kidding me? Cause he was like
Wow.
he was a grad student. And it was one of those moments where I felt so good that I knew I could afford it. I knew the money was coming and I knew that I needed to do something for my friend that he spent, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks that he was in Puerto Rico with me, and I paid for all his food and everything. But to hand him that check for $10,000 and give him a brand new computer, it felt so good. And he eventually started to be one of my account managers. Back to your original question, I hired him as one of my account managers, and then I started hiring other friends, and then I hired, Kelly. She started doing my marketing work for me, not just for me, because Kelly does marketing for a lot of different people. And then I hired, I had a recruiter in Puerto Rico and he had people working under him. So at that time, that was like 2018 to 2022. I probably had like maybe 5 to 7 people working for me, but they weren't they were contractors. I knew that I didn't want to pay people full time. I knew that I couldn't. So I paid my recruiters and my recruiters and my account managers as contractors. And it worked out really well. It was really cool.
Wow. That is cool, man. So you've put it together. I mean, I love the story, man. I love the eating the food on the side of the road, listening to music. I don't know. You got some Eminem blasting. I don't know what's going on, but you guys are just having a great time.
We're listening to salsa. We're listening to salsa music.
Salsa music. I love it. Salsa music. All right. That's cool. So you've got that whole thing. How often do you go down to Puerto Rico?
I usually go a few times a year. I mean, when I was first starting the business, I had to go down there a lot more just because of the partnerships that I have. I mean, I have different organizations that I've created partnerships with that trust me, and my recruiter, he's down there. And so I used to go down there a lot more. Since COVID, the demand has gone down a little bit. So I've kind of become the main person that does everything now. So I do the recruiting, I do the account managing, I kind of do it all now. And it's a little bit more, like a boutique recruiting firm, I guess. So it's as much as I miss back in the day when it was like gangbusters back then, but I just had to I was the quarterback talking to the recruiter, talking to the account manager, telling them to talk to each other. And it was crazy and it was fun. But now things are a little bit slower and I basically manage everything. And it's me and my recruiter pretty much.
Okay, this is very interesting. I love this, and I think this is a big thought to the entrepreneurial journey. This is a big question, right? That I think always comes up. When you're looking at your business today, do you think to yourself, I want the big $100 million, $20 million business, whatever, or do I want the $1 million business or whatever? That's a lifestyle business. Like in your mind, what is your trajectory? What is your path?
Sure. So I love that I can speak freely with it, on this platform and with you and kind of just tell my story and be honest. I mean, I knew from the start when I started this, I had friends that had gone to business school and grad school, and they're telling me oh, you need when things started to take off, I mean, things took off fast. They're telling me you need to hire someone from a Ivy League school to manage your business. And I said, no, I don't. You think a guy that went to Yale is going to be able to get on the phone and talk to a guy from Puerto Rico or talk to a landscape business owner who's screaming at me because he's upset about something or whatever. And I knew that I wanted to be able to work remote, and I knew that I wanted to simplify my life. So I mean, I love mountain biking. I would close deals from the mountain bike trail. I love traveling. I closed a deal when I was on a boat crossing from Argentina to Uruguay once. I literally had my backpack on and I'm on the phone with international calling and I'm closing a deal. And that's the lifestyle that I wanted. I want to be able to do a good job and give a good service, but my office is my home. My office is my car. My office is the trail. It's other countries. And that's what I wanted. So I really I created a system that I knew would work for me based on my skill set and lifestyle.
That's awesome. This is my favorite quote of the show. My office is the trail. I mean, that might even be the title for the show. Listen, I love that, man, because so many people they get into business and business is perfect, right? There was a time in my business, this is no joke, when I was early on, I was in the first couple of years, right? And I was owned my own home, right? And I owned a nice car and I had, 2 or 3 trucks and I was making good money. I could do what I wanted to do. I had no issues, life was really good. And this is really how I ran the business. We worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We worked 3 12 or 15-hour days, whatever it was. It didn't matter. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday was a party. Like we go to the casino, we'd hang out,
And
like it was.
did people think here's my question for you though, Dave, when you did that, where people were like, you're going to do that? That's going to work. Did people doubt you?
Yeah, listen, people always talk smack about it, and somewhere along the lines, I got into this mode of grow more, add more, and then I took Mondays away, and we went back to work on Mondays, and then I took Fridays away, and I went back to work on Fridays, and now I work Sunday to Sunday. You know what I mean? Like it's like, but I remember that life of this is awesome. I can go spend 4 or 5 days at the ocean. I can hang out. I make the money I need. Like life is beautiful. And as I get older, I talk to, good friends of mine who are older, and I've seen a lot of guys move towards a lifestyle driven business, right? Yeah. Like I want a lifestyle. Like my friend Jack Daly, he's been on this show, very successful coaching speaker, but lives the life he wants. Like he's up in Whistler or Banff or some crazy place right now, living what he wants, right? He's going to take his calls in the morning. He's going to do what he does, but he's living the life he wants. And I think that so often on the entrepreneurial journey, I meet with, amazingly successful people, all successful in different ways. And I think the older I get, the true success is being able to say my office is on the trail, right?
Yeah.
Like really? That's an amazing way to live. You make money, you do what you want, you're passionate about it. Obviously, you're good at it. You closed 45 people for a company, which that seems monstrous in and of itself, right? So that's amazing. But you've got this lifestyle that's like it's like beach life meets corporate world meets happiness meets like fulfillment, right? And yeah. Is that the path that you want to continue on, or do you see yourself scaling more and having employees and all that sort of thing?
Yeah. So this whole conversation we're having kind of reminds me of another funny quote that a friend told me. In the first year that I started my business, I think my goal was to place I came up with a number. I don't know. I was like, I want to place 50 people, from Puerto Rico. In my first year, I want to place 50 people. And I ended up placing 300 in the first year.
Wow.
First year, 300 people. And the next year was 500 and whatever. And I was doing all this kind of like I was telling you, with my friends in grad school and from the trail or whatever. And my buddy one day, my buddy's boss at the time, who's like a private equity guy, super smart. He goes, what's up with this Clay guy? He has this successful business and lifestyle, but it's just his business is basically a bunch of guys with cell phones. Like that's what it is, because this is it. Like, this is my business, this computer and my cell phone. Like, I don't, and I have systems, but it's like my way. So back to your question. I want to keep growing. The past 8 years has been so fun. I started my original business, Martin Recruiting and Consulting. I sold it. And then, I decided to do this whole recruiting from Puerto Rico thing again, started another business. It's going well. And I'm starting to get to a point where I kind of want to be a part of something more. And I want to use my skill set of recruiting from Puerto Rico, but give my bilingual HR skills to a company more, not just recruit. I want to help. I want to just help kind of mitigate the issues in the day-to-day life of that employers in the blue collar industry see. And so I don't know how that's going to look, but I do want to dial in my life a little bit more and be a little bit more. I still want to be on the trail, but I'd like to get a little bit, not be on the trail as much and have a little bit more structure, I don't know, I'm like trying to watch what I say, because I'm like, do I have any potential clients who are going to listen to this and it's going to deter them? But it doesn't really matter. I am trying to work on a little bit more structure right now. And, I've learned a lot, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, I need to learn so much more. I'm 40 years old. I have a long career ahead of me. So I'm just trying to find that right opportunity to find a company or multiple companies that I can help take them to the next level, and they can help me, and we're helping their employees.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think for the people watching, like if you have clients that watch the show, whatever, like I always think the best relationships are forged in, like, this is my reality, like that, just that relationship of like, this is what I do. Like, if I'm on my LinkedIn profile, right? Like, I put a lot of stuff on that LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think if a client's going to see that, they might think, oh my God, this guy's crazy. But whatever, man. Like, I don't really care. Like, I kind of just feel like it's like this. And my main companies that I represent, like, I run, 4 businesses. None of that's on LinkedIn. You don't see any of my main company on LinkedIn. Like, I just don't put it there. Like, some stuff is just for me and some stuff is for the world. You know what I mean? But I love what you're building. So you're saying, okay, I've got this thing. I love it. My office is the trail, but I don't want it to be the trail all the time. And, looking for some structure and some fun. And so you're continuing to grow and using these HR skills that you've acquired and developed over the years. I mean, that's awesome. And you are 100% accurate that I love what you said about some guy from Yale is going to recruit some, landscaper, construction worker, tile guy, I don't know, from Puerto Rico. Like that's not going to happen. There's a whole nother set of language, right, in the contractor world.
Yeah. When I started hiring these account managers, I knew who I needed to hire, and it wasn't like someone that's been an account manager for Amazon or for this. I knew the people that I wanted it to be, and it was my friends that had done the Peace Corps with me. I knew these guys, they understood the culture and the kind of craziness that can happen in this industry. And so as my business was really taking off and growing, I remember I would type up these kind of like, it wasn't really a job offer. It was more of just like notes on anything that could happen in this industry. And I've seen it all. I mean, my business has recruited thousands of people from Puerto Rico, and I've seen some of the craziest things happen. I've had flights get delayed, and the people that I recruited from Puerto Rico are like stranded in Cleveland in a snowstorm. And it's like, well, then what do you do? And it's like, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm on a date right now. I'm going to tell the woman nicely, I need to go take care of this problem. I'm so sorry. Here's my credit card. Do whatever you need to do. I'll be back. Maybe I won't. I get on the phone and I'm setting up I'm setting up a hotel and a private driver and sending pizza to these guys and trying to get them to a safe, comfortable spot. I mean, that's just one example, but I've seen hard things like people die, and I've had to call the parents, so it's been a crazy journey. And it's just like, I think it's given me this unique confidence in life and in business to bring on other unique challenges. And that's why I've loved this experience, and why I've started 2 businesses doing this, and why I'm always trying to think outside the box to do things like sponsoring my host dad's trip from South America, who's a shaman, and go take him to Times Square and see, the White House or something, it's
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So you merged and sold your first company, Martin Recruiting and Consulting, 2023, and then 2 years later you say, I'm getting back into it. What happened between, hey, I sold, I'm out, and then I want to go back? Like, why did you make that decision?
Sure. So when I sold Martin Recruiting and Consulting, I merged my business with another company and decided to work for them. So I was working for them for a little over a year. And after that ended, I knew that I had the skill set to start Isla Talent. I knew I had the skill set and the network to do what I needed to do. I knew a lot of people counted on me. So after I merged and worked for that company that bought me, I literally started Isla Talent, a few months later. And now here I am recruiting 45 people within 3 weeks for a company. So,
Wow.
and recruiting nurses. I mean, that's the exciting thing. I think back to your original question, one of your questions, Dave, is I'm not trying, I'm not just recruiting blue collar workers. I'm now recruiting nurses from Puerto Rico, and helping with that process. I brought on a partner. I brought on a woman named Heather, extremely talented and so smart. And Heather has a lot of experience recruiting nurses from Puerto Rico. So that's the new venture. That's the new venture that we're doing, and we're helping hospitals bring in bilingual nurses.
Wow, that's amazing. And I bet that pays a little better than the landscaper.
It pays a lot better than the landscaper. I mean, about four to five times more. So that's like, I don't know if I can do those deals from the trail. It's a little different. So,
Right. Right. The little different deal takes different. Maybe you got to sit down. Maybe you're not on the trail. Maybe you're in the boardroom, whatever it is. But there's still big deals to be had, and they're more challenging and they're fun. And, you're bringing a sophisticated team member over, probably impacting, changing their life.
Sure.
Quite a bit too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's bringing a lot of talented professionals from Puerto Rico that just want to find a better opportunity. So I think the one thing, and I mean, you've had an incredible career, and I'd like to hear your kind of thoughts on this. But one thing that I've learned significantly through my career in the past 8 years of starting my businesses, but I've learned it especially in the past 6 months after I left my last venture, the company that bought my business, until starting my new business, the powers of networking. And I've gained this unique confidence to just continue to reach out to people, whether it's after seeing you with Kelly, I was like, this guy, Dave, he seems great. He has a great podcast. I'm going to reach out to him. And someone like Heather, who I'd been in contact with from another kind of venture, I said, I think this woman we could really do something well together. We've been in touch. I like her. She likes me. And so just keeping in touch with people, having this confidence to continue to do networking has significantly changed my life and my career. And I don't know, I just want to hear, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, man. Keep doing it, right? Like, I think the networking, and, if you're in the area and as you grow and scale, join a group like EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, or, YPO, Young Presidents. Like, the networking is so powerful as you continue to raise your game and as you continue to build your business, that network of people that you can tap into is huge, right? And the opportunities that come from it, because like, you're a smart guy. You took something, you saw something, like, you tell your story. Hey, I was in upstate New York. I was, recruiting people from, Puerto Rico, and they're doing work on these farms and so on and so forth. Like, you took that and you said, okay, great. I see a need and I'm going to go after it. You went after it. You built a business, you sold it, you worked it. You said, I'm doing it again. Now you're moving into nursing. So I think, as an entrepreneur, you're going to continue to see these opportunities and partner with people, who have, a fantastic amount of wealth and that's just, it makes it easier to enter into the game, right? Like, what's next? What's your next curve? Okay, you're 40 now. What are you doing when you're 50? What are you going to do when you're 60, right? What's that legacy you leave behind? So I think you continue to network, you continue to build those relationships, you continue to tap into those things. Man, I think it just, it takes you to the next level. And that's what I love about business, and I love about connecting, right? Like, I think it's awesome,
Sorry to interrupt. Do you have an example in your life and your kind of journey of like networking that, whether it's a unique connection you made or stepping out of your comfort zone or something that, you didn't think at the time, but then you kept in touch and now it created an opportunity for you? Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
No, listen, like, I think networking is so important, right? And then asking yourself, what's the value of the relationship that I have with these people, right? Like, whoever they are, what's the connection? And what potential doors can they open for me, right? And so here's a great example. In my network, I believe that you are the accumulation of the top 5 people that you hang out with, right? If I hang out with a bunch of guys, doing drugs or drinking beers or whatever, like, I'm going to become like them, right? I don't want any of that, right? If I hang out with marathon runners and, triathletes and, Ironman athletes, like, I'm going to become more like them, right? And so I made this goal and I said, I want to become friends with 5 billionaires. Like, that was a goal, right? I wanted to become friends with 5 billionaires. So in my circle, I said, hey, can you know this person? You know this person? Okay, can you make this introduction? So I asked a friend to make an introduction to a billionaire, and they did. They made that introduction. That's right. And so I had a conversation with this gal, right? They do $30 billion a year in revenue. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And we got talking about honey, and I have a bee farm. She bought some honey from me. And, we started doing just like that. And then bam, I got an introduction from her to do work for their company. And I got $1 million worth of work out of it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't, but it was just that connection, right? That connection that happens, through EO, I met Mark Moses, who runs CEO Coaching International. Like I got introduced there. From there, I started working with them. I met a guy by the name of Rich Ballett. Rich Ballett's been on my show. He does, I don't know, $3, $4, $5 billion a year with his Verizon business. I wouldn't say that I'm hanging out with him because I'm not, but we'll text every so often, or, I'll see him. But it's that relationship, right? I wanted to take the kids to Disneyland, and he's like, oh man, you got to do the private tours. Here's this number, call this, do this, blah, blah, blah. He texted me all this information about it. So we went on this private tours of Disneyland thing, right? Like that was amazing for the kids. And then we brought some work people along. So like those relationships are awesome. Oh, and then I did a bunch of work for his company, his Verizon stores, right? So like, but that wasn't the goal. That wasn't like, oh, let's do, it's just build relationships. And those relationships, start to change, how you interact and how you do business, and you learn things and you glean things and you get to a whole nother level. And I think that's what I love about the power of networking, but you decide where you want to go. Like getting connected with 5 billionaires and starting to build relationships with that type of people, like, they do things different. And what I learned along the way was like a lot of these people have a huge focus on fitness, right? Like this huge focus on fitness, like keeping their body in shape. Like one of the things I hear them say all the time, these guys say is like, I want to live to be a healthy 125. I want to be a healthy 125. I don't want to be drooling in a chair. I want to be healthy. I want to run a marathon on my 100th birthday, right? Like just the level of thinking is so much different from just hanging out with a group of millionaires, right? And so I looked at my own life and I was like, dude, I'm overweight and I'm working all the time and I'm blah, blah. You know what? I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to run marathons. I've run 8 marathons in 8 months. Like,
you were just in Aspen.
That's right. I was just in Aspen. And so like, that's my goal, right? You were doing the big bike ride, right? So like, I think that's what I love about it, man. If that answers your questions.
Yeah. Well, it's cool that you had the example you gave about the 5 billionaires, that you had a kind of a goal, like something concrete, and you just shot your shot. And I think just the one thing I'd say about everything you told me is people generally do want to help or network, and whether it's networking or helping, whatever you want to call it, like most people generally are wanting to collaborate. And that's what I think is cool. Or people have a curiosity of like, well, what's this person all about? Like I live in Denver and my neighborhood's kind of, it's been a little gentrified, but it's also still a little, there's, a lot of vacant storefronts. And so I just did a little research and found an article, and a guy was in it and he's kind of involved in the community. And I just wrote him and I said, hey, can we grab coffee? Like I have a few questions about what's going on in this neighborhood of Denver. And he said, yeah, let's grab coffee. And he said, here's what's going on, but I would love to grab coffee with you. And I want to know what's going on in my community. And this guy, like, he's a pretty big deal. He's on like city council, and he's a business owner, and he has no idea who I am, or, he's like, who's this Clay guy, but he's like, yeah, let's grab coffee. And it's cool. Like, I'm excited about that. I'm not looking,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do business. I'm just trying to be a community member and informed. And this guy's going to meet up with me. And that's, I don't know, it's, you got to shoot your shot, right? So
yeah, go for it. And you know what? Shoot as big as you can, because at the end of the day, like I'm not trying to get anything out of anybody. I'm just trying to build good relationships. I'm just trying to be a good friend, be a good resource, be a good partner. I think it's all about relationships. And if business comes out of relationship, cool. But that's not the main motive. That's not the main driver. It's just, and I think you build those relationships, and, somebody says, oh, I know this guy. It's just, and it's just helping people help people. I think people love to be helped. And I think when you put that out there into the world, it's good for all of us, right?
Absolutely. And it's also a little less, it's more personable when you just reach out to people directly. I think that's a big part of it too. Makes the relationships better.
It does. It does. It's awesome. Well, listen, man, I got 2 questions left for you before we bring this thing in the close. As an entrepreneur, you've been on this journey for 8 years. What's the number one tip you would give to any entrepreneur out there today? Like they're getting started, they're building a lifestyle business, they're building a scaling business. From what you've seen, from what you've experienced, what would you share with any other entrepreneurs out there?
I would say the networking, just being confident and finding all different sources to network. It's not just cold calling. It's not just going to events. I mean, doing as much networking as possible, having a confidence to do it, and being okay with failure and being someone telling you no.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's an absolutely fantastic tip. Final question I have, it's my favorite question. We have a big, huge billboard. It's on the side of the road. Everybody in the world can see it. You get to put one sentence on it, one phrase on it, one word on it, whatever it is. What do you want to tell the world?
Shoot for what you don't want to do. I don't know if that makes sense. I just kind of made that up, but what I mean by that is we know, like, I knew for when I was going to start my business or back in earlier in my career, I knew that I did not want to be in an office. I knew that I didn't want to just be like a 9-to-5 guy. And so I avoided that. I did the Peace Corps. I worked on dairy farms remote. And by avoiding what I didn't want to do helped me arrive to what I'm doing now, which is what I wanted to do. So I don't know if that phrase makes sense. Shoot for what you don't want to do. But, like it's really hard for people to, in the beginning of their career, to just get exactly what they want. But I feel like you can get what you want by avoiding what you don't want and just not wasting time with whatever that is. For me, it was avoiding a 9-to-5 working in an office, but for someone else, it might be something else.
I love that. That's fantastic. So how can people find you? How can they find your company? Are you on social media? Where are you hanging out? How can they get in touch with you?
Recruitingpuertorico.com is my website. And on LinkedIn, it's just my name, Clay Martin.
Awesome. All right. Check him out on LinkedIn. Check out his company. And listen, if you're looking for some guys, this is the guy.
Or girls.
In fact, or girls. That's right. That's right. And nurses can be male too, as we know from Meet the Fockers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. All right. And I got to talk to you about getting some guys recruited too, because I want to give it a shot. I want to, I want to see what it's all about. I want to get a couple of guys, I'll get a series of them, and we'll do that. So I want to do that with you for sure. But this has been awesome. This is the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday. We are here. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If I already said LinkedIn, I don't know. It's been a long day. But at the end of the day, we're having fun. Give us a like, give us a share. Thank you for joining in. This has been an amazing show. Clay, you've been a rock star. I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. There's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Introducing the all-new Western Enforcer V-Plow. Engineered with all the features, efficiency, and performance of full-size Western V-Plows, built specifically for your half-ton truck. For more information, visit westernplows.com.